Rebecca had always thought life would feel different after the divorce. Maybe freer, maybe lighter. But instead, it felt emptier. The house she once shared with her ex-husband now echoed, with a silence that seemed louder than any argument they'd ever had. Her teenage son Ethan was her only company, but he was growing up fast, spending more time out with friends and less time at home. Rebecca often found herself alone, her days filled with routine, and her nights marked by a hollow ache she couldn't quite name. When Ethan announced that his college friend, Alex, would be staying with them for the summer, Rebecca didn't think much of it. She figured it would be good for Ethan to have a friend around, someone to keep the energy in the house alive. She hadn't expected Alex to be so different. He was polite and respectful, always offering to help with chores, and even taking time to chat with her when Ethan wasn't around. His presence was refreshing, a stark contrast to the detachment she had grown accustomed to in recent years. At first, Rebecca viewed Alex as nothing more than a guest in her home. He was young, energetic, and had an easy charm that made him likable. But as the days turned into weeks, she found herself noticing little things. The way he laughed, his quick wit. The way he always seemed genuinely interested in what she had to say. It wasn't just politeness. It was attentiveness, something she hadn't felt in years. One evening after dinner, Ethan had gone out with friends, leaving Rebecca and Alex alone in the kitchen. They fell into an easy conversation, talking about everything from his studies to her favorite books. She caught herself laughing, a genuine laugh that felt foreign but good. Alex noticed and smiled, saying, "You have a great laugh, Rebecca." The casual way he said her name sent a small joke through her. She quickly dismissed it, brushing the thought aside as a silly reaction to a kind comment. But as the days went on, Rebecca began to feel a subtle shift in her emotions. She started looking forward to their conversations, the sound of his voice in the house and the warmth of his presence. It wasn't anything she planned or wanted. It just happened. She scolded herself for even noticing. This is ridiculous. She thought he's Ethan's friend. Yet the feelings lingered, uninvited but persistent. Alex, for his part, was always respectful, never giving her any reason to believe he felt anything more than gratitude for her hospitality. But there were moments, small fleeting moments that made her question herself. A lingering glance, a smile that seemed just a little too knowing. It wasn't anything over, but it was enough to make her heart race in ways she hadn't felt in years. Rebecca knew she had to keep her emotions in check. Whatever this was, it couldn't lead anywhere. Still, she couldn't deny that Alex had brought something unexpected into her life. A spark, a reminder of what it felt like to be noticed, to feel alive. One afternoon, while Rebecca was in the garden tending to her flowers, Alex approached her, offering to help carry a bag of soil she was struggling with. It was a small gesture, but one that caught her off guard. As they worked side by side, their conversation flowed naturally, and Rebecca felt the lightness she hadn't experienced in years. Alex had a way of making her feel heard, as if her words carried weight and value. "You're really good at this," Alex remarked, admiring her meticulous work. "It's not just gardening. You have this ability to make things beautiful." Rebecca felt a blush creep up her neck, embarrassed by how much the compliment meant to her. "It's nothing really, just a hobby," she replied, brushing it off. But Alex didn't let it go. "No, seriously. It's rare to see someone care this much. You're different, Rebecca." The sincerity in his tone made her heart skip a beat. She quickly turned the conversation back to something safer. But the moment lingered in her mind long after. Later that evening, as they sat in the living room while Ethan was out, Alex brought up his family. He spoke about his parents' rocky marriage, and how it had shaped his perspective on relationships. Rebecca listened intently, surprised by his depth and emotional intelligence. "You're lucky to have Ethan," Alex said, his eyes meeting hers. "He's got a great mom who clearly does everything she can for him." Rebecca felt her chest tighten. It had been so long since anyone acknowledged her efforts, let alone appreciated them. She wanted to dismiss his words, but the honesty in his gaze stopped her. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice almost breaking. As the night went on, their conversation shifted to lighter topics. But the connection between them felt stronger, more intimate. Rebecca couldn't help but notice the way Alex looked at her, not with the casual indifference she was used to from most young people, but with genuine warmth and curiosity when their hands accidentally brushed. As they reached for the same glass of water, Rebecca felt a jolt run through her. She quickly pulled her hand back, her heart racing. "I think I need to get some rest," she said abruptly. Standing up, Alex nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "Good night, Rebecca." Lying in bed, Rebecca replayed the evening in her mind, berating herself for reading into things that probably weren't there. Yet she couldn't deny how alive she felt when she was around Alex. It wasn't just attraction, it was the way he made her feel seen, valued, and understood. She knew it was dangerous territory. Alex was her son's friend, and any mistake could destroy the fragile harmony of her life. But the thrill of his attention was intoxicating, pulling her into a web of emotions. She wasn't sure she could escape. As the summer days stretched on, Rebecca found it harder to ignore. The growing tension between her and Alex. It wasn't something either of them spoke about, but it lingered in the air. An unspoken understanding that neither dared acknowledge. She told herself it was nothing, a harmless connection that would fade when Alex returned to college. Yet her heart betrayed her each time he entered the room. One evening, a storm rolled in. Knocking out the power, Rebecca lit candles around the house. And Alex offered to help the flickering lights soften the space, casting a warm glow over everything, including Alex. As they worked to make the house feel less eerie, Rebecca found herself relaxing in his company. Her usual guard slipping away, they ended up sitting together in the living room. The storm raging outside, Alex talked about his plans for the future. His dreams, his uncertainties. Rebecca listened, feeling a bittersweet pain as she thought of how much potential he had, how full of life he seemed. She shared bits of her own story too, more than she usually would, and Alex listened, with the same attentiveness that had first caught her off guard. At one point, Alex leaned back, his eyes fixed on her. "You're incredible. You know that," he said, his voice slow but steady. Rebecca froze, unsure how to respond. "I'm not sure what you mean," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, you're strong, kind, and you've been through so much. But you're still here holding it all together. That's rare." His words sent a wave of emotions crashing over her. Gratitude, longing, fear. She tried to laugh it off, to turn the moment into something less serious. But Alex's expression didn't change Alex. She began searching for the right words. "You're kind to say that, but you don't have to explain." He interrupted gently. "I just wanted you to know how much I admire you." Rebecca felt her resolve weakening. She was torn between the thrill of his words and the guilt that followed. Before she could respond, a loud clap of thunder startled them both, and Alex instinctively reached for her hand. The contact was brief, but it sent a jolt through her. Leaving her shaken, she pulled her hand back, quickly standing up to create distance. "I think I should check on things upstairs," she said, her voice unsteady. Alex didn't protest, simply nodding as she walked away. Once in her room, Rebecca closed the door and leaned against it. Her mind racing, she knew she was treading dangerous ground. And yet part of her didn't want to turn back. The connection she felt with Alex was unlike anything she'd experienced in years. But it was also something she couldn't allow herself to act on. For the rest of the night, she stayed in her room, grappling with the emotions she couldn't seem to control. The line between right and wrong had never felt so blurred. And the weight of her internal conflict was almost too much to bear. The morning after the storm, Rebecca avoided Alex. She busied herself with cleaning and errands, trying to suppress the thoughts that had consumed her the night before. She knew she couldn't keep this up forever. But she needed time to think, to gain control of her emotions before they spiraled further. Alex seemed to notice the shift but didn't push. He carried on as usual, chatting with Ethan and helping around the house, though Rebecca felt his occasional glances when he thought she wasn't looking. Each time her heart sank a little deeper. She couldn't deny the connection between them, but she also couldn't ignore the consequences. By the weekend, Alex announced that he'd be leaving in a few days to prepare for the upcoming semester. The news brought both relief and a pang of unexpected sadness to Rebecca. She told herself this was for the best, that his leaving would make it easier for her to return to normal. But the thought of him walking out of her life left her feeling hollow. The day before his departure, Alex found Rebecca in the kitchen slicing vegetables for dinner. He leaned against the counter, his expression unreadable. "Rebecca, can we talk?" Her hands froze for a moment before she resumed chopping. "About what?" she asked, keeping her tone light. "About us," he said simply. The knife slipped from her hand, clattering against the cutting board. She turned to face him, her stomach twisting. "Alex, there is no us. You're my son's friend. Whatever you're feeling, it's not real." Alex didn't back down. "I know what I feel. And I think you feel it too. But I also know it's complicated, and I don't want to make things harder for you." His words caught her off guard, the honesty in them cutting through her defenses. She looked away, unable to meet his gaze. "It's not just complicated, it's impossible," she said quietly. "You're young and I'm not." "This isn't right, Alex." "It can't be." Alex nodded slowly, his expression softening. "I understand. But for what it's worth, you've shown me what strength and kindness look like. You've made me see things differently, and I'll always be grateful for that." Tears pricked the corners of Rebecca's eyes, but she blinked them away. "You're a good person, Alex. And you'll find someone your age who sees that. Someone who can give you everything you deserve. But it's not me." The rest of the day passed in a blur, and by the time Alex said his goodbyes, Rebecca felt both lighter and heavier at once. She watched him leave, her heart aching, but her mind resolute in the weeks that followed. Rebecca focused on herself, on her work, her son, and rebuilding her confidence. She realized that her longing wasn't just for Alex, but for the feeling of being seen and valued. She didn't need someone else to give her that. She needed to find it within herself. Though the experience had shaken her, it also left her with a renewed sense of purpose. Rebecca vowed to seek happiness in ways that honored her values, her role as a mother, and her own self-worth. She knew the path wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, she felt ready to walk it.